It's a beautiful February day. We're out here on Lake Josephine in North Dakota, and pretty excited to tell you I partnered with the North Dakota Game and Fish on this new awesome opportunity that they have and contest going on through the end of March here this year called the 2023 Take Someone New Ice Fishing contest. It's a really cool program put on by the Game and Fish. It's all about introducing someone new to the sport that we so enjoy in the middle of winter. Biggest thing is take a kid, take an adult, take them out fishing for the first time, share their experience, their story online. Go to Game and Fish, which is gf.nd.gov. Link will be in my bio. Log that story, get all the submission stuff done before March 31st, and you'll get your name in the hat to win possibly an ice house from Runnings, or you could gift it to the person you took fishing. But I've got my good friend Cecil in the ice house over here. We're out on Lake Josephine, like I said. We're gonna break down a day on the ice to show you how straightforward, simple, and easy this sport is to get into. There's not a lot of barriers for entry. There's a few simple things you need, and it doesn't cost a whole heck of a lot of money. Or hey, if you got a good friend or a neighbor that's willing to borrow your stuff, it's another great way to get your feet wet in this sport before you start to make the purchase. But we're gonna break it down by picking a location, how we go about doing that, what we're using for equipment, from augers to rods to bait to lures, to even once you do get on the lake that you pick, how do you find those spots when it pertains to perch, walleye, crappie? So stay tuned. Cecil and I are going to take you through a day on the ice and how fun this is, so that when you get the itch to get out ice fishing, you can enjoy it too. Well, we got everything loaded up. We're ready to head out, get on the water, get on the ice, I should say, for the day. Biggest thing is, a lot of people, especially beginner fishermen, always our number one question is, how do you pick a spot on the lake to fish? And it always depends on, first thing is, what are you looking to target? Is it going to be perch? Is there nomadic? Is it going to be a walleye, structure driven? And today, Cecil and I are going to go chase some walleyes here on the prairie. So first things first, we looked at the lake map. There's some points on this body of water that you'll notice the contour lines come together, and it's a great opportunity to catch a walleye on the hunt in those areas. So I think first things first, we're going to go get the ice house out to a couple of these small little points that come out, hit those edges, and see if there aren't a couple walleyes waiting to be caught. Well, while Cecil fishes here, and we've got a fish that keeps marking, and hopefully while the camera's rolling, we'll catch his first one on the ice ever. But biggest thing is, when you do get ready to go out for your first time ice fishing, there's always a lot of questions on where do I go? How do I determine where I should be on the lake? First and foremost, picking a lake is one of the most important things. We're on Lake Josephine today. Game and Fish website has a phenomenal mapping tool on there that shows all the fishing waters, shows where each one is located, what the status of the fishery is, depending on how many different species are in there, and what the survey numbers, netting numbers were from the prior year. Really helps you gain a little confidence that the fish species you're after is in that body of water. But also that goes along with that, first time out on the ice can be very intimidating. Big bodies of water can also be, the most intimidating thing, because you could have a couple 100,000 acres of water to cover, and where does a guy pinpoint and start? And even for a seasoned angler like myself, it's still intimidating. So I always try to say, if you're getting out of the ice for the first time, find a smaller body of water like Lake Josephine that's right around 900 acres. It's still a sizable body of water, but yet small enough that there's not 200 different points you need to go try that could have fish on them, where there's maybe a half dozen or so. Gives you a little bit less of a window of escapism where those fish could be. But like I said, find a smaller body of water, use the Game and Fish's mapping system. It's going to put your foot in the right place right away, give you at least a head start. So once we got our house set up, we got our spot kind of dialed in, we're going to make sure we're ready to roll for the day on the ice. We're going to get our holes drilled. I got one back here drilled. Cecil, don't think you've ever drilled an ice hole, so we're going to get you the first time here. But what I wanted to just point out is the technology advances that have come a long ways to make it so much more simple and straightforward. We've got an ion electric ice auger here, runs off a simple lithium battery, and it's crazy how light these augers are. So no more needing to carry around a 2-stroke, mix gas, have gas spilling around in your vehicle, whatever it is. There's a lot of levels to ice fishing, and augers are one great example that you can have in hand auger. I mean, 50, 60 bucks, you could have a simple little auger. You may be later in the season like this when we have 2 feet of ice, might be there for a while you're cranking it, but for a couple $100 you can pick up an auger like this, whether it's runs off a cordless drill. And you know, what better way to maximize using a power tool that you already have in your garage. I have one of those as well, but today we've got the Ion out here. But like I said, anywhere from $100 upwards to north of, you know, $800. There's a lot of different options to get in and use an auger. Again, one of the key components to ice fishing is having an auger that you can actually get your hole right there drilled with. And once you've got that, a lot of the rest of the stuff will just come naturally. Like a pro. Like you've done that before, but I know you haven't.
Nope.
Pretty simple, pretty light.
It's pretty awesome.
Pretty straightforward. Well, we're gonna get one more hole drilled in here. We're gonna get our lines in, and hopefully we can get you your first fish to the ice. So while Cecil is waiting on a fish here, we're gonna just walk through a little bit of the equipment it takes to get yourself into the sport of ice fishing. And quite honestly, it only goes a couple $100 can go a long way when it comes to ice fishing, especially if you're not getting into all the electronics that you see out there today. Biggest thing is there's three main components that you really need to get out and actually enjoy a day on the ice. First one is an auger, and I've got the Ion auger that you saw out there today. You can pick one of those up for $300 or $400, but you can also get, I was telling Cecil about a K-drill. K-drill is a really cool thing, and there's different brands of them too, but you can use your Milwaukee, your DeWalt drill. It's just a flighting that your drill attaches to. So most guys, gals around the house, you have your drill already. What better way to just spend $100 to get your flighting, and you've already got your power drill that you can use. So you're already halfway into having an auger. They do make hand augers. Great for early ice. Right now we're sitting on 24 inches of ice. You might be powering through quite a bit there, and you might get pretty tired. It's doable, but there are some pretty affordable and economical augers. Second thing is a shelter. Don't necessarily need one, but North Dakota winters can be pretty brutal and windy. You can get yourself a pop-up. This is what we're in currently right now. There's flip-over styles. They're all in that $200 to $500 range. I mean, you can get the expensive Taj Mahal you want, but just to get yourself into the sport, you can find used ones online, classifieds, Facebook Marketplace. A lot of great opportunities to get yourself into different houses. And then you don't necessarily need a heater. We've got a heater in here. You can pick those up, and then honestly, your rods are the next thing. Once you have those, you're pretty much set. You can put bait in anything you want to. You don't need a big old fancy bait cooler. You don't need flashers. Flashers are great because it allows you to see where the fish are, find your depth really quickly, but you could still go old school. Use a heavy weight, a depth bomb as we like to call them, and you can find bottom to set your bobbers, or as I like to say, just drop your jig down, hit bottom, reel up about a foot, and you're set. You might be surprised when you catch a fish, but irregardless, the barriers to entry to this sport are very minimal. So Cecil and I were just chatting here a little bit ago. We're joking around, and that's one of the things with ice fishing is the camaraderie, and honestly, it's the experience of being out here and enjoying this, element of the outdoors. But as an avid angler, it's one of those things we always take for granted. Like we have the equipment, we go out there and enjoy it. But I'm asking Cecil, like, what as a guy that's never been on the ice before, what's some things that maybe come top of mind? And he brought up the conversation about just having friends or buddies. A lot of people in this state that fish, and honestly, it's like test driving a car. Like, it's a great opportunity to reach out to your friends, your neighbors that ice fish, and just say, hey, I'd love to pop in with you for a day and go tag along. And it's a great way to, like I say, quote unquote, get your feet wet, but it's a great way to just know that if it's something you really enjoy and can see yourself wanting to do more of before you go and spend the money on all the equipment that you need. But it's like I said, North Dakota, I bet you talk to 5 people, 3 of those 5 people ice fish. So there's a good chance someone personally that would have an open invite for you to come tag along. I know as myself as a fisherman, one of the joys I get out of this sport is introducing someone new to it, seeing someone new have fun. And I've kind of reached that point in my life where I couldn't care less if I catch a fish. I love seeing other people catch fish and their excitement. So I know there's plenty of other people out there that would love to take you out and get you on the ice and see if this is something that you want to do further. So you got yourself all set up. You found your spot, your holes are drilled. Now you're thinking, what the heck do I use for bait? Well, there's a couple options. Obviously, we've got our big old orange cooler back there full of minnows. Minnows work great for dead sticks, tip ups, jigging rods. The other thing that we don't have with but are great for perch as well is wax worms or spikes. And then it comes to lure selection. I've got a tackle box here full of a bunch of different lures, but there's really just a few main ones that you really need to get into this sport. The most common is a jigging spoon, like this buckshot here. Clam makes the blade spoon. There's all kinds of different ones, but this is just a simple little jigging spoon. Has a rattle built in the back here, treble hook. Honestly, get yourself a few of these, various sizes and colors, but personally, 1/4 ounce is one of my favorite sizes just because it's a small enough lure for perch, big enough for walleyes and in deeper water, so it's kind of a middle road if you're looking to just get a couple and get 2 or 3 of each color and maybe get 4 or 5 colors. And honestly, that'll get you started in the right direction when it comes to tackle. There's various other styles, like this guy right here doesn't have a rattle, just kind of more of a straight blade. If you're looking for bigger fish, you got a little bit more of an active bite. You've got different things like this PK lure here, rattle baits. A lot of those are a little bit more of aggressive. You'll also notice sometimes if you're in a more negative bite, these lures don't seem to be as effective. So tried and true, good lure to always have in your tackle box when you get out on the ice is some sort of a rattling blade spoon. You can't go wrong with it. Getting into the sport of ice fishing can be as simple as using something called a tip-up. Just a little contraption like this that has a flag brings you back to being a kid all over again. Essentially, it's like a dead stick like we have in the house. When you've got a jig set up on a little tip-up here, and the whole theory and concept behind this is you can use this to scout, find where those fish are moving, find where the fish are. You can use it to, in North Dakota, we're lucky to be able to use 4 lines in the winter. You might have a jigging line and a dead stick in the house and be able to put 2 of these out, and it's just a great way to maximize being able to make the most of having 4 lines. The other thing that's awesome about them is there's a wide variety of tip-ups out there, but most of your local bait shops, hardware stores, all have various forms of tip-up, and they're a rather inexpensive tool to use. You can pick them up for anywhere from 15 to 50 bucks. So just a great option to have out there. And I tell you what, hopefully you get to see us chase some flags today, but there's nothing more exhilarating than when a fish pulls this, trips that flag, and you take off running, and you get to fight a fish hand to hand here.
So why'd you pick this spot?
So, that's a very good question, Cecil. Reason I picked this spot is we're fishing a finger or a point that comes out on this lake, and we've currently got the house set up right kind of on the tip top of that point.
Yeah.
And we've got a tip up set up on the other side of it, and now we're kind of on the back side of this point. So what I'm trying to do is just basically find where these fish are. It's almost like a base camp we've got set up in the house, and we're going to utilize these around the different staggered areas. And if we start seeing more fish show up in these areas, we'll maybe just move the house over. But excellent question. And like I said, when we have the ability to use all 4 lines out here, so 8 for us, it makes a lot of sense to just stagger them out throughout different depths and locations, just to try to narrow down where these fish are and go from there.
Cool.
Now you may be asking yourself, when you do get out to go ice fishing, how the heck do I get out there? What do I do? How do I get around? Well, there's a lot of different options and a lot of different price points for that. Today we're pretty fortunate. We're out here in a Ranger side by side. We got plenty of ice. We've got over 2 feet, but don't let that be a limiting entry barrier to getting into this sport. There's a lot of things you can do without having an ATV or a snowmobile or a side by side or a snow bear, or if you don't want to drive your vehicle on the ice. Honestly, you could go to your local hardware store and get a little calf sled, or they make a lot of ice fishing sleds now that are just simple, small little things for 50 bucks, and you can throw your house in there. And when you go on to Game and Fish and look at that map of all the fishing waters, there is plenty of fishing waters in North Dakota that have major roads right next to the lake itself. So it's not like you're gonna have to walk a mile or 2 across the body of water to get to a fishing spot. You can be there within a couple hundred yards, and that's the beauty of this sport. Is it's just like in the summer, you don't necessarily need a boat to enjoy some of North Dakota's best fishing. You can fish right from shore. So boot, foot, traffic, whatever it takes, you can get out there. You do not need a range, you do not need a side-by-side. You can walk out a couple hundred yards from shore, get a couple buddies, and lighten the load a little bit, and you'll be in good fishing within minutes of parking at the boat ramp, parking on the side of the road. A lot of opportunities that way. All right, Cecil. So we've had a good day out on the ice. It's wasn't the bite we were expecting. Again, we're on a brand new lake, just doing a little exploring. But you know, that's the essence of ice fishing. You just never know what you're gonna get. And kind of wanted to get your overall thoughts on how you thought your first day on the ice went.
I liked it. It's an experience. You got up early. It's dark. Around here, it's wide open. It's quiet. I mean, had a couple bites. That was fun, but you know, overall, I enjoyed it.
Hey, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You know, when we're talking getting outside, getting outdoors, enjoying, whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, especially when it's hunting and fishing, you know, the harvest of an animal, the catching of a fish, that's a small fraction of the enjoyment and the experience of why we do this. Honestly, when you get outside, there's so many things that go by the wayside in your normal day life, and ice fishing is a great way to escape, you know, the rat race of computers and emails and couch and television. It's a great way to get out and enjoy the winters in North Dakota. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you can get someone else introduced into the sport, enjoying it, having a good time, that's a win in my book, whether you catch a fish or not. So thanks for following along in this adventure, and remember, you've got till the end of March 31st to get your stories in on taking someone new ice fishing. Go to Game and Fish's website, gf.nd.gov. You've got the form submission there where you fill everything out. Get yourself in, talk about the story of the person you took outdoors. You have the ability to get into the drawing to win a new ice house from Runnings. Pretty cool opportunity. You know, like I said, add another ice house to your arsenal, or take a guy like Cecil out fishing, and if you win that ice house, give it to your friend that doesn't have one. And you know what? That's what the sport is all about, is about getting new people, whether it's kids, adults, whoever it is, to outside enjoy this experience that we love so much. And at the end of the day, the more people that we can get into the outdoors on the ice fishing is a win for everyone. So thanks for following along.